On this episode of the Oklahoma Breakdown with Ikard and Lehman, presented by Riverwind Casino, we give you what we're watching for in OU's spring game. Then Tim MacMahon joins us to talk some Oklahoma City Thunder and preview the NBA playoffs. And we give you our winners and losers of the week. Please download and subscribe to the podcast, rate it 5 stars, and write us a good review. Follow the show on Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube. Just search Oklahoma Breakdown on any of those, and you'll find us. All right, our man Michael Hosty will kick this thing off. It's time for the Oklahoma Breakdown. It's a beautiful Wednesday, April 17th, and you're listening to the Oklahoma Breakdown with Ikard and Lehman, presented by Riverwind Casino. Riverwind is Oklahoma City's premier casino experience, and there are so many reasons why Riverwind is consistently voted OKC's #1 casino, but it all starts with their amazing variety of gaming thrills and excitement. Riverwind's beautiful award-winning environment plays host to more than 2,800 of the latest electronic games with a huge selection of table games, including blackjack match, roulette, and Teddy's favorite, craps. No matter what your game, Riverwind has it in spades and hearts. And to learn more about their gaming promotions and entertainment options in the month of April, all you got to do is visit riverwind.com. Riverwind Casino, simply the best. A lot going on. Spring game, Thunder playoffs, softball's in the middle of it, Ted. We got all kinds of stuff to talk about, baby. Let's go.
Let's go. It's heating up. It's postseason time. So stuff's getting fun for sure.
And we've got Tim MacMahon on this episode. One of the most popular guys covering the NBA out there. So look at us stepping up the basketball coverage for the playoffs.
Hey, you got to get the experts in, right? A couple of football guys, got to get the basketball people in during the playoffs.
But as always, let's start with OU football. Spring game format. We've got offense versus defense. Ted, red versus white. Not sure how much ones-on-ones we're going to get in the spring game. Hopefully some. Typically in a spring game, you get more first offense on second defense, first defense on second offense. But I've always been a fan of O versus D and just creating that animosity and not doing the draft and mixing the teams. I like some just old school offense versus defense, baby.
Yep, nothing wrong with that. And let's be honest, as soon as the thing gets underway, most people forget what the format is, how it's going, like what the scoring is. They're just watching the offense versus the defense anyways.
Exactly. So the scoring system, offense, it's simple. Touchdown, you get 6. PAT, you get 1. Field goal, you get 3. The defensive scoring system's where it starts getting a little interesting. The defense scores a touchdown, so like a pick six, fumble recovery, return for a touchdown. You get 6. PAT, you get 1. A turnover on downs, or a missed field goal, they're going to get 4 points. They're going to get 3 for a 3 and out. They're going to get 2 points for a sack. If the offense misses a PAT, the defense will get a point. If they force a punt, the defense forces a punt, they will get 1 point. And I think they'll be punished for offsides. It'll be like -2 points if they jump off sides. So
Nice.
Fans probably don't need to know that, but that's what the scoring system is. The interesting part of the scoring system is, Ted, we're going Elam ending in the Oklahoma spring game. Target score. How do you feel?
I like it. I like it. I've always liked the little target score.
Let me explain it. Just
Yeah.
because some people out there may not be fans of the NBA All-Star game, so they may not know what the Elam ending is. Basically, at the end of the third quarter, right before the fourth quarter starts, a target score will be generated, and that target score will be, they will add 12 points to the leading team's score. And the first team to get to that target score wins. If neither team gets to it, it's whoever's leading at the end of the fourth quarter. But yeah, little target score to battle for. I like it.
Yeah, I like it. That'll give us hopefully some drama at the end of the game in some form or fashion for people to enjoy. A lot of times you get to halftime of the spring game, The second half is the head coach is looking at the watch, like, let's get out of here while we've got everyone healthy. Let's keep that clock rolling and move on. So hopefully this will change that up a little bit and give you some drama late.
We'll see. Maybe a lot of people will be confused, but it'll be fine.
I predict everyone will be confused, including myself.
Awesome. Can't wait. All right, let's dive into what we're watching for. The top things that we'll be watching for in the spring game. Ted, what do you got?
Pass rusher on defense.
Mm.
I mean, that's one of the things that we've talked about pretty routinely is like we do a really good job, despite what some of the statistics may say, we do a really good job pressuring the quarterback. But what we have to do in order to get to that is bring a bunch of pressures, constantly adding to the blitz. You know, Venables is bringing guys from different angles and different positions. You know, what we've talked about, what we really need, and I think is kind of the final frontier for this defense, just as an overall, is having a guy or guys that you can just go with the straight 4-man rush, let them go to work and try and get home with 4 guys. And I think we've got some players that have the tools, like the physical traits that you need in order to pull that off. I don't know that we're there necessarily experience wise and making things flow consistently, but to me, that's what I'm going to be looking to is, has anyone stepped up to be a premier one-on-one pass rusher for this defense?
And that it may not result in sacks, but it comes down to guys winning.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes, unless you've got some advanced analytics to look at, pass rush win rate and that type of stuff, you don't really get those stats for a player. But yeah, I'll have my eye on those edge guys. Who is winning their one-on-ones? Are they winning their one-on-ones? Because I don't think at this point, I wouldn't consider OU elite at the offensive tackle position. I think that's fair to say. So if some of these edge guys, whether it's R. Mason Thomas, PJ Adibarwe, it doesn't matter. You got to win your one-on-ones. At least some of them, maybe not all of them. Pass rushing is hard. It's tough, but some guys need to emerge as guys that when they get one-on-one, when the slide goes away from them, that they become a major factor.
Yeah, no, I agree. And you're right. It doesn't, just because you win on a pass rush, it doesn't always equal a sack. But what it does do is it forces the opponent to take notice, to change what they maybe want to do in protection, to keep a back in instead of getting 5 out, you know, against a 4-man rush. So it's critical. I mean, there's few elite level defenses that don't have one, if not more, of those type of guys. So like I said, I think it's really the final frontier for us. And I know we've gotten better there, but have we like officially taken that step?
And I think that maybe Grayson Halton belongs in this conversation.
Yeah.
There's nothing that can ruin your day as a quarterback more than a good interior pass rusher.
Yep.
And I think with what we've seen, he is the most natural pass rusher that they have in the interior, which kind of is a perfect transition to what the number one thing I'll be watching for in OU spring game. It's Josh Bates for me. Shocker. I've picked the center that is wearing the number that I wore as my top thing that I'll be watching for in the spring game. I just want to see how he handles it all. Right? You are in charge of the entire operation as the center. And I'm interested to see how he manages the moment. And can he get all of those guys on the same page? Can he make all the calls quickly, especially when they go tempo? And then, of course, how does he perform after he snaps a football? There's going to be a lot of eyes on him, man. And not only do you have the Troy Everett situation, like when is he coming back in training camp? Will he be ready to go for the season? But the SMU center, Branson Hickman, is going to be standing on the sideline on a visit. And Bates, like, you have to feel that as a player.
Mm-hmm.
You have to take it personally, in my opinion, to say, to like, you want to go out there and play so well and lock guys down so easily to where that guy goes, I don't know, man. I may have to compete with that guy. Like, that should be Josh Bates' goal, is to play so well in the spring game that one of the
I'm
guys
gonna
they're
ruin your recruiting.
exactly,
I
I'm
like
going to
it.
ruin your visit, bro. But yeah, there's going to be all kinds of eyes on him. And Ted, I can't wait to see how he plays.
Yeah. I'm in the camp of uh, give it a little bit of time. And I know he's had some shortcomings, but you got to remember how young he is. Which there's been players that come in and can do things young. I mean, I'm obviously aware of that, but a player can make a lot of strides throughout even a short window like a spring, which is only 15 practices, everything included. You can make a really big jump being the starter, getting starter reps, and getting coached as the starter over 15 practices. And, I don't expect Josh Bates to come in and look like a seasoned vet, but I do hope to see that he's made quite a bit of strides since early spring.
I'm with you. And he's got to have the mentality that he's going to be the starter. I know that Venables said the goal for Troy Everett is to be back by the end of training camp. That's not a guarantee. And when he gets back, he's not going to be at his peak.
Not going to be sharp.
I mean, what happens if Everett needs more time? I mean, setbacks happen in knee rehab. I mean, Josh Bates has got to be ready to start in the opener. And I know that there's all of this practice time, right? There's spring ball, there's training camp, there's all of these practices. I get that. But the spring game, it is the most similar to playing in a game. It just is, because there are people there watching. And that affects guys differently. So, and it's kind of similar to what I said about our edge guys going against our offensive tackles. There's not exactly all Americans in the interior of this defensive line yet. I'm real excited about Jaden Jackson and David Stone. Those guys have all American stuff, but they're true freshmen. I mean, Dejon Terry's a solid player. Grayson Halton is, I mean, we're excited about him, but he hasn't produced at all. So when you look at the guys that Bates is going to be blocking, you got to go out there and have a good day, man. Especially when there's a guy on the sideline trying to take your job. I mean, make no mistake about it. They are looking for a reason to replace you. That's college football now. Every single guy. And it's not just Oklahoma. It's all of the big time programs. They are looking for a reason to replace you. Josh Bates plays so well that they don't have a reason, man. That's why he is. It's the number one thing I'm going to be watching in the spring game.
Yeah. For me, the next thing, star power. Do we have the star power? I think that it's pretty well established that we've got offensively, defensively, roster wise, a lot of positions are deep. We've got good depth, we've got good experience, but if we're going to make any type of waves at all in the SEC, we've got to have star power. And I'm curious to see, like, do we have a star at running back? Can Sawchuk, capitalize off the end of what we saw last year? And I think the best thing for him is that he's had a good offseason. He's, constantly been in the mix. He's had a really good spring, gaining a lot of experience. Like, can he take that next step to where we're like, damn, we got one of the better backs in the SEC, wide receiver. I mean, we've had good players at wide receiver. We got good talent, but do we have a star, a college football star at wide receiver? Yet to be seen, in my opinion. What's Bauer Sharp? Defensively, we've got good play. We got Stutzman coming back. We've got obviously Billy Bowman coming back. But can those guys elevate to the next level? Big players, good players in the Big 12, right? Well known in the Big 12, not as well known nationally. Can those guys? And I know, but we're probably not going to see much of either one of those guys because of the seniority. But I mean, that's kind of the thing for me is: are we going to have star power defensively, offensively, and defensively?
You have to have some guys that even the most casual fan, as they're watching the spring game, go, I know that guy's good.
Mm-hmm.
I know that guy's one of the best players on the team. And it ties into one of mine, Ted. And it said, and mine was, do we have an RB that has the juice?
Yeah.
You mentioned Sawchuk. Clearly, there's a lot of excitement about Caleb Hicks. Javonte Barnes seems to be getting back into form. You got Sam Franklin, and I know that Taylor Tatum's coming in the summer. I understand that. But I feel like you know it when you see it. You know a running back that's got the juice when you see it. And we've seen glimpses from Sawchuk at times when he's been healthy throughout the last couple years. We haven't seen it nearly consistently enough. We've seen glimpses from Barnes, but we haven't seen it consistently enough. And I'm just interested in what running back flashes, what running back has that the 2 or 3 runs where you go, damn, man, that's what it looks like.
Yeah.
Because you got to have that guy. We keep bringing up the SEC, and it's because it's a different level of competition. It just is. You got to have a difference maker who can make something out of nothing at times at running back. And I'm interested to see if any of those guys have that type of moment or moments in the spring game.
Yeah. Just to build on that, and we were talking about this the other day on the radio show. I don't know who it was, maybe CBS. Someone put out a top 100 players in college football. And I think Stutzman was like right around 30, like maybe high 20s on that list. And I don't even know if we had anyone else on it. But you go through the list and you look at the top 10 or top 15 players, most of them are on our schedule, and I'm not saying that we don't have players that are as good as some of these guys, because some of it I don't agree with, but we need those type of people to emerge to where we have names nationally that people are talking about. And I think we've got guys that are capable of that. Let's see if they make the next steps.
I like it. What else you have?
I mean, I'm always interested to see what's going to go on at corner. And I know we're not totally healthy there, but it can get hard sometimes in spring games, like for running backs. I mean, you never know what you're going to get out of the offensive line, and like how the rotations match up. Like you may have the 1Ds matching up against like the number 3 offensive line or something like that. It could be difficult at running back, but you could typically see whether the ball's going there or not. You can watch corner and see if guys are getting cooked, who's in good position, who's competing out there in one-on-ones against some of those wideouts. So, that's, I believe this. If Coach Venable said the same thing. Corner is one of the positions that you highlight on this defense that really has to get better from last year. And a lot of that is just having the right guys healthy and all those things. And I think we've got the players capable of doing it. It's just, can we be consistent? Can we show we got some depth?
Yeah. No, I think you made a great point by saying, hey, you could kind of just watch that position and know if they're winning their battles or not.
Mhm.
Now, there's some different situations when it comes to zone coverage and who's making mistakes and who's not, all that stuff. But yeah, I think that's something that's easy to watch. So my last one, you kind of touched on it with what you said about the pass rusher, but the last thing I'm watching for is the 5 stars on defense that are in year 2. PJ and Peyton Bowen, extremely highly recruited, did some solid things in year 1. Bowen probably had more of an impact than PJ did. I want to see what those guys look like now. Have they made noticeable gains? Do they stand out during the spring game? Because they're 5 stars for a reason. They are extremely physically gifted. And have you developed them physically? Have they developed technically at their positions? I'm going to have a close eye on those 2 guys, because when you bring 5 stars in, and I know there's an NIL component to all this stuff now, but it's still very important to develop these types of guys and then turn them into early draft picks. And typically, not all the time, but typically in your second year, if you're going to be an early round draft pick, you're starting to look like a dude. You are starting to separate from the rest of the pack. And I think that we need to start seeing those guys flash more. And we need to start seeing those guys really develop and start looking like guys that are going to be big time players for this program. The spring game may not be the best setting to determine that, but
Right.
it's the closest thing to a game that we get.
Right.
So
And I agree.
I think those 2 guys in particular, and I know it still makes some people uncomfortable to talk about. These guys are getting paid a lot of money. They're highly compensated. If you want to look at it from an NFL standpoint, they are taking up a large piece of the salary cap for Oklahoma football. So, what are they as players right now?
Yeah.
I
Well, here's the thing, whether it's, I don't know if it's the harsh truth, it's just how it is. The wow, he's going to be really good phase only lasts 1 year. You don't get that anymore. Now, we're not technically in year 2 yet. So the clutch is in. We're shifting gears. We're not actually back out and running. Like the transition from the, hey, this guy's got a lot of potential, to, wow, he's a really good player. Like, we're in that transition right now. You don't get to hang around and be like, oh man, look at all the tools he's got and physically gifted and all those things. Like there comes a point where it's like, show it to me. And I'm not saying we're there yet, but we should really start to see it, to your point. Like, this isn't the perfect example of it. And, there's still I guess a whole nother off season before the fall. You're going to go through summer, which is big for strength building and putting weight on and tightening up some of the technique and skills. But you're right. We don't want to be a team full of potential. We want to be a team that's got guys that are out there absolutely doing it.
I I've become more comfortable talking about the NIL piece of thing. Hey, if you're one of the highest compensated guys on the team, you got to be making plays. It it's starting to turn into something that's no different than how things are viewed in an NFL locker room, in my opinion. Highly paid guys, you better perform. Right? It's no longer potential, it's performance. So that's just kind of where I'm at.
Wait
And
until everyone, like, the last frontier is you can look up everyone's contract on Sport Track or whatever that thing's called, or you know what I'm saying? It's like
Yeah.
right now, it's like I don't even know why, but no one really talks about how much they make. It's all like, well, you got a good NRL deal. Like no one wants the numbers out there, and I think it's because, obviously all the competition going on between teams, but like it's not going to be long before everyone knows exactly how much you're making, and that will introduce a whole different level of eyeballs to the mixes. Right now, you're able to operate in obscurity. Right? People don't know the salary cap number that you're chewing up right now. It's a good point.
You got anything else? Or do you want to
Yes.
get to call your shot?
Last one. Quarterback. Like
Can't believe it
I
took us that long, but
I know.
yes.
I want to see, and maybe I'm asking too much, but when we're evaluating quarterbacks, folks, we do have to some degree like grade on a curve depending on what the offensive line looks like. Like there will come a point where it is what it is and you got to make the plays, right? But the situations may not be even out there, so keep that in the back of your mind. But I want to see Jackson Arnold come out and take ownership, and we walk away from the spring game and everyone walks away from the spring game saying that is our guy. And it's not that I'm rooting against Michael Hawkins. I think he's going to make some incredible plays out there, and I would be shocked if he doesn't insert himself into the conversation coming out of the spring game. But I think, at least for the time being, this team is best off with Jackson Arnold taking ownership, going out and looking like he's going to be the dude that we all have hoped that he's going to be. Because I still think that he's got tremendous tools, great athleticism, smart with the football. He's got plenty of arm. We've seen that. He's got all the tools, and I still think that he can be great.
My hope is that we walk away from the spring game and everyone goes, man, we are set at quarterback for the next 4 years. That's or 5 years, whatever. That's my hope is that, oh my gosh, they both looked so good.
Yeah.
Now,
Yeah.
you got to run the ball. You got to be in good down and distance situations. You got to get good protection. There's all these different variables, right? That go into playing quarterback at a high level. But I think most importantly, especially for Jackson Arnold, is take care of the ball.
Yeah.
Because if he goes out there and throws a couple interceptions, we all know the conversations that are going to take place after that.
I don't want to have those conversations.
I don't want to
Great
either.
content for us, but I don't want to have those conversations.
I'm with you. All right, let's get to call your shot. We asked you guys the number one thing that you'll be watching for in OU's spring game. This first one comes from CB Rouster 85, who says the weather. I kid, but seriously, the weather looks like it's going to be awful. Makes me sad.
Yeah. Worst case is we've got cold rain pouring during the game. Best case scenario, it's just going to be cold and windy. Right? It's kind of the two options we're dealing with.
Why can't we just get a nice weather spring game?
The weather's been so great the last couple of weeks too.
I was walking, we walked to dinner last night, and I turned to my wife and I said, they should just play the spring game right now. Just call everyone that's got tickets, say, hey, show up. You got a couple hours. Let's do this. I mean, it was perfect. It was incredible. And now you're looking at it. What is it? High of 59, low of 48, 65% chance of rain. Awesome.
Not fun.
Literally every other day in the next 2 weeks is perfect, except for the day they're playing this free game. And there's some chatter. You saw the release that OU put out that they're monitoring it, and maybe they'll adjust something if they have to. I don't know how intense the storms are supposed to be, but if it's a lightning situation, there's nothing you can do, man. You can't play.
Yeah.
And I know that is definitely a situation they want to avoid, but can't control the weather.
Yeah. Yeah. I'd hate for everyone to show up for it. lightning hits and like they ain't going to be done. They're just going to go to the indoor and finish the spring game. There ain't going to be a delay, and they're going to wait to come back out. So, and I know like the frustrating thing, it's a scrimmage and they can play it that anytime. That's not that big of a deal, but there's a ton of work and logistics that go into try and put on a big show.
Yeah. This last one comes from wise guy _8, who says the tight end position. How much do they open the playbook to the tight ends to take some pressure off the backs and receivers? I've got bad news, wise guy 8. They're not opening up the playbook at all for the spring game.
No.
I mean, they're not going to. I would anticipate them just operating in 11 personnel the entire time and essentially having a call sheet that were their base concepts from a year ago. That stuff that's on film a lot from last season. You don't want to show anyone anything in this type of scenario. Now, you want to put your guys in situations, especially in position battles, where a guy can prove that he can separate himself from another guy. Like, yeah, you absolutely want to try to put those situations out there, but yeah, they're not gonna open it up. They're not gonna showcase Bauer Sharp in a big way, or at least I don't think they will.
Yeah, yeah, they may add some fun little things in. You may get some little trick gadget plays, but if you've got like a couple of core concepts that may be your bread and butter that are different than what you've done previously, you're not going to see that.
No. So sorry to bust your bubble.
I do
Burst
think
your
that
bubble?
Bauer Sharp, I do think that he'll make some type of wow plays out there, though.
I
May
hope
not have a
so.
whole lot of opportunity, but
I just wanted him to catch like a drag or a quick out
have a little space.
and to have a little space. Those are the situations I want to see him in. You know,
Agreed.
you're not throwing out anything elaborate conceptually, but you're just getting him the ball quickly and letting him use his athleticism. That's what I want to see from him. And then, yeah, I'd be really surprised if you see any 12 personnel, maybe in some short yardage and goal line stuff. You could see some of that, but yeah, I think this offense is going to be an 11 personnel and maybe even 10 personnel offense. So we'll see what it looks like. We'll keep an eye
Yep.
on it. Let's talk some NBA with our man Tim MacMahon. But first, Love's Travel Stops is now offering a nationwide 10-cent per gallon discount on gas and auto diesel. Just download the Love's Connect app and scan your barcode at the prompt on screen and watch that price drop 10 cents per gallon. Across the country, the Love's Connect app unlocks exclusive deals and can help any traveler plan their route or meal on the highway. So before you hit the road, be sure to download the Love's Connect app to save 10 cents per gallon and experience the country's best highway hospitality at Love's Travel Stops. Love's also has you covered if you forget your phone charger or headphones with their expanded mobile to go zone. And of course, don't forget to grab yourself some of that delicious Java Amore.
And celebrate with a Schooner All-American Ale, the official craft beer of OU Athletics from Coop Ale Works, named after the iconic Sooner schooner that races across Owen Field after an OU score. You can join in on the celebration with an ice-cold beer from Coop Ale Works. You can enjoy it at the Palace on the Prairie, at OU athletic events, at the bar, at the tailgate, and in the comfort of your own home. For more information on Schooner All-American Ale, visit schoonerale.com. Must be 21 to purchase. Please drink responsibly. Schooner All-American Ale, the taste of game day.
And we love Simple Modern. Simple Modern is an Oklahoma-owned drinkware company who launched the best cups it's ever made this month with its new signature line. They're 100% leak-proof, which is what everyone needs with an on-the-go cup, and it has a ceramic coating on the top of the double-insulated stainless steel to preserve the beverage's taste while still keeping it cold and hot for hours. And even better, Simple Modern exists to give generously, donating 10% of all profits so you can know you're helping better Oklahoma and beyond with every purchase. Check it all out at simplemodern.com today. All right, here's ESPN's Tim MacMahon. It is our pleasure to be joined by a man that does a tremendous job of covering the NBA for ESPN. You can catch him on the Hoop Collective, one of my go-to podcasts. Tim MacMahon is in the house. Timmy back. How we doing, buddy?
Howdy, partners. It is a pleasure. I was wondering if you guys were ever going to invite me. I guess you had to wait until the Thunder made the playoffs. That must be what happened here. It's been a while.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, we had to rebuild a little bit, regroup, go back to the drawing board, but we're back, baby.
I think you'll be back for a while.
Yeah.
Tim, I think there's only one place to start. Do you agree with Shannon Sharp or not? The weakest one seed. I
mean,
cannot explain how fired up the fan base is by that clip. It had everyone around here very upset.
Well, I guess that makes it good TV. I'm not sure it's a great opinion. Hey, West was tough this year. I don't see how you can be the weakest number one seed ever when there's 10 teams above 500 in the conference. You know, I think the Thunder would like to be considered the weakest number one seed ever. I think I remember I'm up there in October in preseason. I don't know if we're going to be able to make a jump. It's all you heard around the organization. We just got to finish our breakfast. That whole thing of press deal. Hell, we don't need expectations to get too high. Now they didn't make another 16-win jump. They made a freaking 17-win jump. And you know what this means? They are mathematically on pace to win 75 games next season. You heard it here first. The Oklahoma City Thunder, simply by math, I'm going out on the limb with the prediction. They're winning 75 games next year, baby.
Well, I don't know about the weakest one seed ever, but I do have my questions, and we've seen it over the duration of the NBA. There's a difference between regular season and playoff. There's the old, you've got to earn it type of situation. Like, what do you think? Like, if there are shortcomings for the Thunder, where there's a difference between regular season and playoff, what do you think that those could be?
Well, I'll start with this. Obviously, this is a team that has precious little playoff experience. The vast majority of the playoff experience on the roster is sitting at the end of the bench in Bismack Biyombo, Mike Muscala. Shea's got a couple of series. Lou Dort's got a series. Hayward, who's not much of a contributor, has got some. I'll be honest with you, though, I don't really sweat the playoff experience because of the kind of demeanor and the personality, the character of this team. This is not a team. This is not the Memphis Grizzlies of the last few years. That's an extremely, kind of roller coaster type of team. This group is even keel. I don't think they're going to be rattled. Now, if you want to talk about just basketball concerns, they are small. And where they're tall, they're skinny, obviously. And so is rebounding a concern? Absolutely. And, Thunder folks can pull, if you look at the last X amount of games, they rank this in rebounding. Rebounding is absolutely a concern. And look, let's just be straight up. The Lakers winning in the play-in, I'm sure that, I don't think the Thunder were like dressed up in Laker girls uniforms and waving pink and or purple and gold pom-poms. But I don't think they're disappointed to see the Lakers win because the Lakers were a very tough matchup. AD, LeBron, them playing big with Rui Hachimura, but AD and LeBron in particular really beat up and bullied the Thunder this season. So not having to deal with the Lakers in the first round, I would have still picked the Thunder to win the series, but I wouldn't have been comfortable with that. I would have picked like Thunder in 7. So I do think they avoided what would have been a really tough first round matchup. But again, just they are a small team, and they deliberately chose to be small because they figured, okay, we're going to have a weakness in rebounding, but playing the lineup they thought created a ton of other strengths. And they ended up being right. They won 57 games.
Looking at the Thunder and what they've accomplished and the way that they've done it this season, Tim, what has really impressed you the most about what they've done from a basketball standpoint?
I mean, you have to start with the obvious. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, everybody thought he was a really good prospect who was coming off a second team all-rookie campaign, a nice rookie campaign when they got him. Nobody thought this guy was going to be what looks like he's going to be a perennial first team All-NBA player. Certainly a deserving MVP candidate. He's not going to win MVP this year, but is a deserving candidate. So, you start there. I mean, that's just been they have, if you're picking who do you want to build around over the next 10 or 15 years, you don't get very far in that conversation before Shea's name comes up. And, you have to start there. Plus, he's just, again, we get back to the personality. He's the perfect personality to build around, especially in a market like Oklahoma. He's like Sam Presti's dream. Honestly, as great as Jalen Williams has been, the thing that has been really, really impressive has been Chet Holmgren and the impact that he's had. And you watched that team last year, and you knew the future was bright because you saw Shea, you saw Jalen Williams emerging as one of the best rookies in the league last season. You saw some of the other contributors, guys like Isaiah Joe, and so on and so forth. But you said they need rim protection and they need more shooting. And here comes this number 2 overall pick who had to sit out all of last season, who instantly majorly addressed their 2 biggest needs. And the thing about Chet, and he just proved it by playing all 82 games, and that's something that was really important for him because he wanted to prove that he's a competitor, he's a tough dude. This is a guy who had to sit out last season, hear about how fragile he is after never missing a game or practice in high school or college. He had something to prove there, but he is obviously a guy who occasionally will get pushed around by some of the behemoths in the NBA. He will never get intimidated. And I think his toughness also really helped this team.
You mentioned by the one flaw, the lack of size maybe that they've got matchup wise. Like this year in the playoffs, the way things maybe look like they're going to unfold, what's like the worst matchups for them that you see that could unfold?
I mean, the worst matchup for anybody in the Western Conference is the defending champs, right?
Yeah.
And I know they won 3 out of 4 against the Nuggets this year. I don't necessarily put just a ton of stock in regular season results looking at a playoff series. I don't care who you are. Joker is going to be an absolute load to handle. And I don't like Chet's odds of being able to contain him enough in a series for the Thunder to win that series. And if they do end up matched up with Joker, I do think we'll see a lot of the Jalen Williams paired with Holmgren, just so they can kind of put Chet in a situation where he can not have to be the primary defender on Joker, be able to be more of a help defender. But, that's a tough matchup. And it's nothing against Chet. We watched Joker last year. He kicked Anthony Davis's ass. He kicked Bam Adebayo's ass. Those are 2 of the biggest, baddest centers in the league. So, that's the one. That's the one team I don't think that the Thunder can beat in a series this season. Now, I anticipate that I'll be in Oklahoma City for the second round. And, well, I'm going to be there probably regardless whether the Mavs beat the Clippers or not. But I anticipate that I'll be there covering Mavs Thunder. And I think that's going to be one hell of a series. And the Mavericks are tough, man. I'm not going to sit here and tell you I thought they were going to be this good after the trade deadline. I didn't especially love those deals. I love the Gafford deal for the Thunder because they were getting 2028 swap rights. And I'm pretty sure I'm going to take an L on that opinion because obviously the bet there was things aren't going to work in Dallas. Luka might be leaving. And 2028 swap rights could be a Jaylen Brown, Jason Tatum type of swap. Luka's awfully happy, and Gafford's been a major impact player. But Luka and Kyrie in a series, surrounded by athletes who have fit well. This team, the Mavs, have been the number 1 defense in the league for the last quarter of the season, shockingly. That's going to be tough. That's going to be tough. And obviously, Lou Dort on Luka, probably J-Dub on Kyrie. Derek Jones Jr. would be the primary defender on Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. It would be one hell of a fun series.
there's a lot being made of the Thunder's inexperience in the playoffs when it comes to the players.
Mm-hmm.
You don't hear a lot about Mark Daignault's inexperience coaching in the playoffs. Is that a thing? Is that something that needs to be brought up more, or is Daignault just such a good coach that everyone is looking past that, Tim?
Well, the other thing is, even though he's going to be the coach of the year, your casual fan still has no idea who he is. I mean, this is that's a great story, actually, because he has obviously proven himself to be an elite coach. He just won the Coaches Association Coach of the Year. Pretty certain he's going to win the one that the media votes on. And this is a guy who, when the Thunder hired him, he'd been the G League coach, promoted from assistant, obviously. I'll be honest with you, I'd never heard of him. So I Googled him. And you know what the first link that popped up was? To his LinkedIn account. That's how anonymous he was. And I brought that up to him this fall. And he kind of laughed and said, listen, I can still go grocery shopping. Now, I don't know if that's still the case after a 57-win season, but no, you don't hear a lot about his inexperience. And I do think it's because there's so much respect for him and just, I mean, he is clearly proven not only is he capable of handling his job, but this guy is a wizard. And he's a lot of times the coaches stuff, you focus on the X's and O's, and he's obviously great at that. To me, the most important thing in NBA coaching is culture. And as much as the Thunder culture makes me yawn, finish our breakfast and run through the finish line and all these things.
Eat your vegetables, Tim. Eat your vegetables.
But I give Mark D credit and I give Sam Presti credit, because I think it's difficult to get young players to buy into what might be considered mundane and boring. But man, the Thunder are 100% on board. And obviously they're seeing that it works. They're seeing that it's successful. So I give him a lot of credit for that. And I also give Shea a lot of credit, because I think the biggest factor in the culture of a franchise is going to be your superstar. And he absolutely embodies that stuff.
Is there anyone that the makeup of the Thunder and how they play, is there anyone that they remind you of? Right, whenever you see the way they play, and maybe a team that was young once and they grew up. I don't know. It's just, that's usually how I try and compare teams and look at things, is who do they remind me of?
You mean like the previous youngest team ever to win 55 games, which is another edition of the Oklahoma City Thunder? So style of play, not really, just because the style of play has changed so much in the NBA. And, we've never seen guys like Chet Holmgren until recently. And even he's even unique. I'm actually working on a story about kind of this new modern day rim protecting, floor spacing center. And he's blown the top off of that, obviously, along with Victor Wembanyama. So stylistically, the league has changed so much that they don't remind me of anybody. But, I do think that similarly to the previous edition of the Thunder, they have a legitimate big three. Now, I don't know that all three of these guys are going to win MVPs. Like that's probably not going to happen. But I think they've got a legitimate big three that really fits well together, complements each other, enhances each other. And, you have hope of building around this group for the next decade. So in that sense, they do remind you a little bit of that previous Thunder team.
Thunder won't know their opponent until Friday night after the Pelicans and Kings play. Who do you think the Thunder want in round one?
I mean, honestly, probably the Pelicans. And that, again, we don't have a Zion update beyond he's getting an MRI, but that's being pessimistic about what that news might be. The Pelicans without Zion, let's be honest with you, that's not a very scary foe. Brandon Ingram is fresh back off the injury, really struggling, was benched for the fourth quarter last night. Having said all that, you can hope for one thing, and the odds are, for all those reasons I just stated, that they're going to get the Sacramento Kings, which will be an interesting series. Sabonis is definitely a guy who can feast on the boards and get his shoulder into Chet and be a difficult matchup there. I would like the Thunder in that series, and I'd like them in 5 or 6.
Who in the West you think that maybe isn't getting talked about enough that could maybe creep up on some people, maybe make a surprise run?
Well, we can't rule the Warriors out yet because I work at ESPN. No, I'm just kidding. I don't know about not getting talked about, but the Suns are interesting, and I think it broke pretty well for them. Again, I don't put too much stock in the regular season results, but they did sweep that series against the Timberwolves, and obviously the last game of the season had a playoff type of feel because Minnesota, that cost them the difference between a 2 seed and a 3 seed. And, I don't think Minnesota was really excited about the prospects of facing the Suns in a series. The stuff about Gobert not being suited for playoff defense, honestly, is primarily a bunch of bull crap. I've covered him closely. I know the coaching staff from those Jazz teams very well. They all think that narrative is absolutely ridiculous. One thing about Gobert, though, is a good way to beat any center who's in drop a lot is the mid-range game. And obviously, when you talk about Kevin Durant and Devin Booker, those are two of the best mid-range shooters in the league. And, all season long with the Suns, you're kind of waiting for them to get any kind of momentum going. They're dangerous just because they do have 2 of the top 10 scorers in the league. And then Bradley Beal, I don't know where you put him on the list, but a heck of a number 3. So I think you at least have to look at the Suns and say, if their guys get hot, they can get on a roll.
When you look at the West, 3 of the matchups are just, it's ridiculous, right? Phoenix and Minnesota, Dallas and the Clippers, and then the Lakers and Nuggets. Tim, when you look at those 3, which one do you think is going to be the shortest series?
Lakers Nuggets. They played last year. How long did that one last?
They were really competitive, though.
Most competitive sweep in NBA history. The bronze broom will always fly in the rafters of the building formerly known as the Staples Center. Look, maybe the Lakers pull off an upset and get a game in that series. Again, I just think that the Nuggets are that much better than the Lakers. And look, I think the Nuggets might be that much better than anybody in the Western Conference. And I know where they are in the seeding. I get all that. I don't know that anybody's taking the Nuggets to 7 in the West.
How do you think they compare to some of the, I don't know if we want to say dynasties, but teams that have had really impressive runs over, a short number of years?
Yeah, and obviously before we start comparing the dynasties, we probably got to let them win a second ring. And I think the short answer to your question is it's hard to say that they compare to some of those teams because they only have one All-Star, right? He's about to be a 3-time MVP. No offense, Oklahoma, or Dallas for that matter. But
luckily, no one in Oklahoma or in Dallas listens to this podcast. Tim, you're good.
But Joker is like, I had somebody say to me, "Well, you can't make Joker a 3-time MVP in 4 years. Like that would put him in the company of like Bird and Magic and all these guys." And I'm like, okay, but he is one of the all-time greats. Like he's like, that's not going to age poorly. He belongs in that kind of company. But they don't have another all-star on that roster. Now, kind of with an asterisk, because Jamal Murray last year during that playoff run, and Jamal Murray in previous playoff runs has played at a superstar level. He's just never been either healthy enough or put up the numbers to be an all-star during the regular season. But I think the thing with the Nuggets is they have, and Chris Finch said this before they played. the Timberwolves coach. They have the starting five that fits the best in the NBA. They've found pieces that fit so well around Joker and, again, just compliment him, enhance him, know how to play off him. Aaron Gordon has gone from being the guy in Orlando on a mediocre team to one of the best, I call him a star role player, right? You're never running offense through him, but he plays so well. He ties everything together defensively. He's become one of the best cutters in the league, which when you play with Joker is so critical. KCP, keep championship players, Rob Pelinka, one of the better 3-and-D players in the league, just such a perfect fit. Give Calvin Booth credit, Tim Connolly before that, for finding guys who really fit around their superstar and or around their star duo, Jamal Murray, and obviously the Murray Joker 2-man game. I mean, what other duo in the league are you looking at that either guy can be running can be the ball handler in the pick and roll, and you're equally terrified?
Looking at the Eastern Conference, I guess there's only one question to ask is, can anyone challenge the Celtics? Do you think anyone can realistically knock them off?
Well, no is the is the one word answer. Interestingly, I think their biggest challenge might be in the first round. And obviously, we're recording this before Heat Sixers. But either way, and the Heat have not been very good this year, let's just be honest. But they won more games than they did last year. And we saw what they did last year. And you always are like, whether playoff Jimmy materializes or not, it's like if you stay in the Skirvin Hotel, you're looking around for ghosts the whole time, right? You are going to be scared. There's no doubt about that. I mean, the history is terrifying. And then, the 76ers, they're not a 7 seed. They landed there because Embiid missed 2 months. They're 31-8 when Embiid played this year. I mean, they were, they were on a 60+ win pace. So strange as it is, the Celtics, by far the most wins in the league, and their toughest matchup, at least until the finals, is probably going to be in the first round.
Impact, you think, with Giannis in Milwaukee? What do you think's going on there?
And that doesn't sound good. It sounds like, or what Woj reported, is maybe later in the series. Obviously, the thing you're really worried about there, like forget this series. We've seen a superstar rush back from a lower calf injury during the playoffs, and the fact when Giannis was hurt and then the MRI results the next day, it was, whew, hey, the Achilles is fine. That's awfully concerning, right? Because like I said, we saw what happened with KD. It was a lower calf thing, and I spent 8 years in college, no medical degree, but you understand all those things are connected. And he tore his Achilles. So Giannis, his ability to recover from stuff is remarkable, but man, that's not one that you really want to take any risk with. And the Bucks have been just a total mess all season. I mean, they were the most dysfunctional 30-13 team in NBA history. Adrian Griffin got run out of there. They bring in proven championship coach Doc Rivers, who is sub 500 in Milwaukee. Damian Lillard's had a rough year for a wide variety of reasons. He has not looked like himself lately. And they certainly need him to be, full-blown Dame time superstar, at least early in this series and probably throughout the playoffs to have any hope of doing anything. But another one and done for the Bucks at this point, you can't consider it shocking. And if that happens, the obvious question is then what?
Last one I have for you, Tim. What do you think success looks like for the Oklahoma City Thunder in the 2024 playoffs?
I'm just trying to figure out what meal we're on. Like, we've blown by lunch, haven't we?
Are we? It's like the awkward snack in between lunch and dinner. Is that where we're at?
I guess. I'll tell you what, though, breakfast, it was like a Sunday brunch. It was the most delicious breakfast that I've ever
Mimosas.
experience. Um, okay. First of all, this is already successful, right? Because this is a franchise that is kind of in the final stages of this is kind of like the final year of the rebuild with a ton of ammo still to come. But in terms of, obviously, there was some tanking. Last year was a return to respectability, and boom, here you are. You're the number one seed, the youngest number one seed ever. That's success. They were so successful that anything short of a conference finals run will feel disappointing, which is a testament to just how good this season has been and just how good this group is. And look, man, the Thunder are going to be one of the most fascinating teams, one of the best teams in the league for years to come. But everybody in the NBA has their eyes on Sam Presti. Like, how are you going to use all these picks? Are you going to take a big swing in the trade market, or are you going to, quote unquote, cash them in? He might just keep kicking them down the road. And no, we don't want 4 picks in a year. We don't need to take a swing at a superstar. They've got a star trio in place. The Thunder have a legitimate chance to be a contender for the next 5 years and pick in the lottery every year in that span. I mean, it is ridiculous, the possibilities and the flexibility that comes along with the stockpile of picks that they have. I think they are. I still think they are a modern power forward away from being able to break all the way through and have a little parade down that canal. I made my maiden voyage to the Tipsy Tiki the other day, by the way. I don't know if you.
Oh, nice. How'd it go?
It went well. My boy Big Rich put me on scholarship there, so that was always a good thing. So that's why I had to give him a shout out. But I do think they're a modern power forward away from a championship parade type of possibilities, but you never know.
In case we don't have you on again,
I like
we got to get a finals prediction. Who's in the finals? Who wins the whole thing?
Well, boys, I'm really going out on a limb here. I'm going to say the Celtics are going to make it against the Nuggets. And I picked the Nuggets. I think I went Nuggets over Bucks to start the season, which was a bad pick. But I'm sticking with the Nuggets. Nuggets repeating. Joker kind of cementing that he's not just an all-time great, but he's nearing that one of those upper tiers. And so yeah, I'm gonna say the Denver repeats.
How dare you not pick the Thunder to win it all? What is wrong with you?
Hey, if you had me on last week, I absolutely would have picked the OKC Blue to win the G League title, and I would have been correct.
Banners hang forever, Tim. Let's go. Hey, yeah, you're the man. Hopefully we get to see a little bit here in Oklahoma City throughout the playoffs. Appreciate the time, buddy. Thank you.
All right. I think I'll be seeing you boys in the second round. Make sure the Thunder get there.
Well, Tim likes the Thunder, but seems like he likes the Nuggets more this season at least.
Yeah. And no SGA for MVP.
I know. That made me sad. I do think he's going to finish second.
Yeah.
Which
and I will say too that I think he needs to have like some big moments in the playoffs for people to really think that he's there in that group.
I think you're right. One thing I don't hate, you've got all the people saying the stuff about them being a week 1 seed. You got SGA not going to win MVP. There's going to be some fuel for the old Thunder's fire.
I like it. I like that.
Let's finish up with our winners and losers of the week. But first,
all you grill masters, listen up. Didier Ranch delivers premium quality beef that is 100% raised in Oklahoma right to your front door. Go to didierranch.com, DIDIER ranch.com to order one of their premium quality beef boxes and use promo code Oklahoma15 for 15% off your order. Filet, ribeye, New York strip, sirloin, steak burgers. They've got it all, and they ship anywhere in the continental U.S., and Oklahomans get deliveries in just 1 to 2 days. The only thing better than having a lot of premium beef on the O&D line is having premium beef delivered right to your front door. Didier Ranch, tradition tastes better.
and head to the garage for hand smashed patties, butter toasted buns, and some ice cold beer. If it's the perfect spot to watch any big game, and with all the garage locations being open to 10 p.m. or later every night, it's the go-to late night spot. Game 1 and game 2, 8:30 p.m. tip-off in Oklahoma City. So if you're not going to the game, go watch it at the garage. It'll be open. You'll love it. Eat some great food. Visit eatatthegarage.com to find a location near you and order online from the garage in your neighborhood. As always, Ted, kick us off. Who do you have as your winner of the week?
Well, timing is a hell of a thing. And, the Detroit Lions coming off their best performance in a long time. Jared Goff up for that contract extension. And, the numbers, Gabe, talking 50 million ballpark for per season for Jared Goff. The timing, outstanding.
I don't know Jared Goff at all. I don't think I've even ever met the guy. I find him very likable, and he's done a really good job ever since he got there.
Yep, quietly, which I think is like somewhat of a good thing. It doesn't feel like Detroit's success is completely tied to the quarterback position like a lot of teams are.
It feels like they've done a really nice job of building at the line of scrimmage, which when Dan Campbell is running things,
Stalker
should not surprise anyone. But he has been, and I hate that game manager has turned into a term that has negative connotation somehow, but he's turned into a tremendous game manager for them.
Yeah, no, I think so. And man, here's the thing. It is not a level playing field. Some quarterbacks look great. Some quarterbacks don't look great. Usually the difference between the two is more about how good their offensive line is than how good their actual skill at the quarterback position is. Like if everyone in the league played behind the same offensive line, you'd probably be shocked at how good some of these quarterbacks actually are.
Yeah. He's in his last year of his deal now. So you got to assume that they would want to get this thing done before training camp. And I do wonder what the number is going to be. It's going to be a big number, but will it be big but not too big? Like, do I think Jared Goff should be one of the top 3 highest paid quarterbacks in the NFL? No, I don't. I don't think he's that type of player, but the market is the market. I don't know, Ted.
Here's how you got to look at it though. He might be one of the top 3 highest paid quarterbacks in the league today, but a year, 2, 3 down the line, whenever you're in the middle of that contract, he'll probably be outside the top 10.
Right.
So that it's just kind of like this constantly evolving number that goes up, up, up every year. And while I know it hurts now, and who knows if the salary cap number is going to continue to jump. I don't think it's going to jump like it did this year, but if the revenue's coming in the way it is and that trend line continues, well, then it doesn't matter how much you pay him.
He's only due $27 million in 2024. So my prediction is that it'll be somewhere in the $43 million range. That's my official prediction, 43. Which is going to look like a lot, but like you're saying, once these other quarterbacks that are better than Goff redo their deals, it's not going to look insane. He's going to be making, my guess is that 2 years from now, there's going to be guys that are making more than $10 million or $10 million more than him with their new contract. So we'll see, but
at some point it really turns into it's just like a what measuring contest, because $45 or $50 million. Like, okay, we're like I know it's $5 million, but whenever you start to look at the percentages, is it all that big of a deal? In fact, like
His
I would
agent
be,
would say yes. It's a
yeah.
massive deal.
Well, that's the problem. Is everyone around you is like, you got to get what you're worth, and you need to make sure that you're compensated fairly. Like, if I'm in his position, I'm like, I want to get mine, but I'd like to have a ton of money to throw at a tackle or at a guard or at another, a big time wide receiver, or maybe we need another interior defensive lineman. I mean, ultimately, that's going to give you more staying power than another $8 million on your contract.
Yeah, no, that's a good point. All right, who do you have as your loser of the week?
Well, I had to go with Golden State. They got punched out, and which, I guess it's not that big of a surprise to everyone, but they're aging really quickly. It feels like yesterday they were like the young new team in the league, and they're aging really quickly, and they've got some massive contract numbers, and Klay Thompson's up, and it didn't end well for him. He had a solid year, but
Didn't
was
end
0 for
well.
10.
He didn't hit a shot.
Scoreless.
It was a winner go home game, and Klay Thompson had 0 points.
And what may end up being his last game as a Golden State Warrior. Now, Steve Kerr, after the game, says we need him back. We want him back. And I expect that to be the conversation. But, it's easy to say that now until everyone starts to talk those contract numbers. And there's going to be teams out there that are throwing really impressive deals at him. And it's going to be hard, I imagine, for Golden State to get there.
Yeah. If he wants to make the most money he can, then Golden State is not where he'll be next season. But I don't know. I hope they figure it out. I know that I feel a certain way about Klay Thompson. Like, we all still have that game 6 in our minds. We'll probably never get over it, but I find him pretty likable. And I'm always rooting for guys that have a serious legacy to just finish it out where they've been. I don't know. It would just seem weird seeing Klay Thompson in another uniform, but they're going to ask him to take a discount deal. I mean, you look at their cap situation, they paid so much money in luxury tax to not even make the playoffs this year. It's insane.
Yeah.
But I think it was like $170 million or just something crazy. It's something crazy. But I want him to stay in Golden State. I just don't know if it's hard to tell a guy, hey, you need to take way less when he's done what he's done for that organization.
Yeah. And there may be people that still have some hate hanging on because of that performance you mentioned, the game 6, which I totally understand. But here's the thing. I want him to stay in Golden State so we can all we need to channel it's easier to channel all that injury or anger at the same place. Stay at Golden State so we can all still kind of hate Golden State together.
I'm with you. That sounds fantastic to me, but yeah, that game was an absolute dud. I turned to my wife at the end of the third quarter. I said, "This thing is over. Let's watch a show."
Yeah.
So it's weird. It kind of felt like the end.
I know it's a different deal, but just to say quickly, the end of the Pelicans-Lakers game was building up to be amazing until Zion went down. Which it was still good after that, but
would you calm down? Wait till we get to my loser.
Oh, God,
what are you doing?
What am I, an idiot?
But yeah, I don't think any of our I wasn't heartbroken to see the Warriors go out like that.
Yeah.
All the people that were scared to get the Warriors in the first round, I was the one going, no. Bring them on. They're old. Like, they're old and they cannot run with the Thunder right now. I don't think so. I get it. Steph Curry is just a terrifying player to play against, but I would have loved that series. That would have been awesome. But
Well, just you know how things go. He would not have been 0 for 10 against the Thunder. That's just like he would have had one of those ridiculous games. It's like, oh my God, Klay Thompson's coming back. He's back, baby. Unbelievable.
Let's get to my winner and loser. But first, attention business owners, you need Insurica in your life. Insurica is one of the country's largest insurance brokers with 30 offices throughout Oklahoma, Texas, and the Southwest. Insurica is able to customize programs by accessing the latest information from many insurance carriers. They compare and contrast coverage offerings and pricing in order to design a cost-effective, comprehensive program to meet your business's specific needs. If your business partners with Insurica, you'll save huge amounts of money and take back control of your total cost of risk. If your business wants to be best in class, connect with Insurica at insurica.com. That's INSURICA.com.
And head to opolisclothing.com for our podcast merchandise and the best OU gear out there. That's OPOLIS clothing.com. Use promo code TED, TED for 10% off. That's opolisclothing.com. Use promo code TED for 10% off. Buttery soft and 10% off.
For my winner of the week, thought about going with Blake Griffin.
Oh,
Big guy called it a career. He's the best. Was such a beast at OU. Won every Player of the Year award imaginable his sophomore year, including the Wooden Award. Took OU to the Elite Eight. Remember that awesome battle between them and North Carolina. Drafted first overall, and then just had an incredible 14-year career despite all the injuries. 6-time All-Star, 5 times All-NBA, legendary dunker, right? Legendary. And what he did on the court was incredible. But the best thing I can say about that dude is he treated me the exact same way once he was super famous as he did when we were teenagers.
What, he kept dunking on you?
He never dunked on me.
Okay.
Never dunked on me. Not once. I was not putting up with that. But I think success and fame can change a lot of people. And at least in my experience, it didn't change Blake at all. And that I think that just says so much about him as a person. And I saw this debate kind of taking place on Twitter. Hey, is he a Hall of Famer? He's got a hell of a resume, but maybe more importantly, Ted, everyone likes the guy, which is, I mean, he's just a fun guy to be around. So it made me sad to see him hang it up, but it also made me happy for him. Now he can really, really get his golf game more dialed in. Just really get it dialed in.
Yeah, he's, like you mentioned, legendary dunker. Oh, there was all these highlight reels, floating around yesterday, and just like, he is like my kind of player. That's exactly the type of basketball player I love. Like Dominique Wilkins, Sean Kemp, Blake Griffin, same thing, just trying to tear the rim off the backboard. Those years with the Clippers, Lob City, while we banged heads a lot, it was a lot of fun. And that was a good, intense little rivalry that we had going for a while. I just love, there are very few people that are super famous and are very comfortable laughing at themselves, and like everything that like you mentioned, how likable, is just the easiest going guy of all time. And it came across super confident and awesome. Nothing but respect for the guy. Hall of Famer in my book.
No doubt about it. Congrats on retirement, Blake. But my winner of the week, the WNBA's Indiana Fever. They've got Caitlin Clark, drafted her #1 overall in the WNBA draft on Monday night. Ted, their stadium was packed by fans just to watch the Jumbotron, to see Caitlin Clark get drafted. It changes the franchise drastically overnight. Clearly, she's going to have a large impact on the floor, and they've got some pieces, man. Aaliyah Boston, Alyssa Smith, Kelsey Mitchell, who was a WNBA All-Star last year. They haven't been into the playoffs since 2016, but they got some pieces now, and they're going to be really fun. But her impact on that franchise is going to be massive. But I think Caitlin Clark's impact on the WNBA, and it's not just her. I know it's not just her, but she's got a large role in it. I think her impact on the WNBA over the next couple of years, I think it's one of the most interesting stories in sports, Ted.
I know this is like on a different level, but she could have a Tiger Woods effect on the sport, to where obviously you get a whole bunch more viewers. I mean, let's call it what it is. WNBA viewership is not great. You've got a whole different group of viewers that you're going to bring in that have not watched the WNBA, maybe have never seen a game, and you're going to get a massive influx of those people. And everyone in the league will probably eventually make a lot more money because of her, like what Tiger did to the purses in golf.
It could be kind of a combination between Tiger Woods and LeBron James. When you think about what LeBron did for Cleveland,
mm-hmm.
and what he did for, kind of the NBA was popular, but it seemed to take a jump when in the anticipation of him coming into the league. And I know that LeBron was straight out of high school, but his last 2 years of high school games were on ESPN. Now, a lot more people were watching Caitlin Clark's games than LeBron's, but I don't know, it just feels that way to me, kind of like this media circus around it. But some of these numbers that Caitlin Clark has had a hand in from a viewership standpoint are just
insane.
I mean, they're shocking. You think about the number that the championship game did, but the WNBA draft averaged nearly 2.5 million viewers, peaked at 3.2. The previous record was 601,000 back in 2004.
Yeah.
Just massive, massive increases. And the Indiana Fever had one nationally televised game last year. They've got 36 this season. The Indiana Pacers, for comparison, had 6. I mean, her effect already is massive. I saw Michael Rubin, the CEO of Fanatics, said that she had the highest selling jersey on draft night of any athlete in any sport in Fanatics history.
Well, that's crazy. I'll say this too, and some people may disagree with this because there's a little nuance here. The WNBA has never had a superstar. They've had I'm not talking anything about skill level. They've had great players. There's been a bunch of great players that have stacked championships and accomplishments, but they've never had a player that is like a crossover superstar where everyone in the country knows who she is without a doubt. They've never had that. They've had people that are popular. Basketball people know who they are. You've heard my superstar test is if my wife knows who you are. My wife has no idea who Sue Bird is. My wife has no idea who Lisa Leslie is. None of those people, none of them. She knows exactly who Caitlin Clark is, and she's never watched basketball in her life. That's the type of star power you're talking about. They've never had that before, and it could have a dramatic impact, or it will have a dramatic impact on the league. And there's villains to go, which you got to have, like call it what you want. That dynamic with like some of the opposing players and stuff like that draws attention. People want to see it.
Nothing wrong with a little drama. And I hope the WNBA leans into that a bit. But I saw a lot of conversation about Caitlin Clark's contract. And as someone that has been able to look at a WNBA team's balance sheet before, this is what I'll say. If you want Caitlin Clark to make more money, buy season tickets, buy merchandise, and watch the games on television.
Yeah,
That's it. If you want those players to earn more money, because the WNBA is a business. It's a business. The salary structure is negotiated with the players union off of the revenue numbers. So if you want those women to make more money, which I certainly do, and a lot of people do, support the WNBA. That's it.
Yeah.
And to encourage all your friends to support the WNBA. And guess what? They will make more money. It's that simple, Ted.
Well, I've noticed that there is an inverse correlation between the amount of complaining about the WNBA salaries and the amount of hours of WNBA watched. The people doing the complaining do not watch WNBA. So, just like you said, if you want those numbers to go up, viewership has to go up, and it's about to.
Buy tickets, buy merchandise, watch the games on television. It's a simple formula.
There you go.
It's a simple formula. If more people do that, those women are going to make more money.
Yeah. The NFL salary cap didn't go through the roof this year because all of a sudden the owners said, I think these guys are worth more money. That's not how it works.
Or, you know what? I'd like to give them a bigger piece of what I'm supposed to have. Yeah,
Right.
No. It's a business. Simple formula. If you want them to make more money, more people need to watch, more people need to go to games. Simple. My loser of the week, Zion Williamson. Unstoppable. He was unstoppable in the playing game against the Lakers. 40 points, 11 rebounds, like 5 assists. Pelicans were coming strong in that comeback in the fourth quarter. That play, Smoothie King Center was going crazy. Just a ton of momentum. It felt like he was having, for the first time, a moment in his NBA career where we all were sitting on the couch and watching and going, this is everything we thought he could be. My God, look at this guy. What an athlete. We were all having that. And then he takes it to the rack, scores, makes it 95-95 with 3 minutes and 19 seconds to go in the game. Tweaks something. We never saw him emerge from the locker room. Lakers end up winning. Pelicans turned it over too much. Lakers did a nice job hitting free throws. Ted, we'll never know what the outcome would have been if Zion was out there. But, man, the Lakers had no answers for him. And him going out at that time with the way that he was playing, it just felt like the story of his career, man.
You saw the frustration boil over.
Yeah. He should have thrown a chair. Throwing the towel wasn't enough. He should have picked a chair up and just so people know he was really pissed. I felt for him, and, selfishly, we all got robbed of, I think, what was going to be like a play-in classic.
Yeah. I was shocked. I think it was maybe a possession or two before he got hurt. He drove kind of from, just right of center and just went right around Anthony Davis to his left hand. And then the ability to turn the corner, he was outside of the paint and then just went boom, straight past him to the rim. You just don't see that. It was incredible. Change of direction and athleticism from that dude is just incredible. I feel for him, man. I hate that. He's obviously, it's been a rough battle. At some points, I think maybe he, to a degree, brought some of it on himself, but I know this time around he's put in a ton of work and he was in a really good place.
He's still too heavy.
Yeah.
I mean, I think that's pretty obvious. He's still too heavy. Every time I watch him play basketball, I'm like, that guy could have been a Hall of Fame three technique, and no one would say anything about his weight. Guy would have been an absolute nightmare to block. But I just the Lakers, it's probably best that the Lakers won for the Thunder, which is how I view every NBA game at this point in time. It's like, what is best for the Thunder? But I just, with that type of game that he was having, I just wanted to see him finish it, man, and just see how he performed under that pressure and in that situation. And as an NBA fan, it was just a bummer that we didn't get it.
Yeah, well, it's all we really want in all sports is to see the best players available and going at it at the most critical times. I mean, that's what you want.
Win or go home for the Pelicans on Friday. And I just don't expect I until I see him out there on the court, I'm not going to expect him to play. That's just kind of been his career. He just hadn't been able to stay healthy.
Yep. No, I agree.
Bummer. Birthday shout outs. Oh, how about this one, Ted? Happy 21st birthday to Erica Hurd, who will be turning 21 on 420.
Make good decisions.
Make good decisions, Erica.
Have fun, but make good decisions. That's awesome. Happy birthday to Sarah Burkhalter.
On that note, episode 414 in the books. We'll have a new podcast that'll drop on Sunday. Obviously, we will be recapping the spring game. Just a reminder, please subscribe to the podcast wherever you listen to podcasts. Please subscribe to our YouTube channel. Hope you all have a great rest of your week. Have an awesome weekend. Enjoy the spring game. Until next time, we appreciate y'all for listening. Do what you always do, Oklahoma. Take care of each other.